Before I start the video, there is a PDF or maybe two down in the description box. I don't want your email. I don't want your money. It's just for you to print off and see these pentatonic shapes so you can practice them. Totally free. All right, so these are the 5 pentatonic shapes for guitar. The first thing you need to know is it's incredibly important for your playing, but you probably already realized that, and that's why you came here. The second thing you need to know, there's 5 shapes total. So when people talk about major pentatonic and minor pentatonic, the shapes are the same for either one. It just depends on where your starting note is, or really where your home note is. And the home note is whatever feels like home in your song and will be determined by the context of what you're playing. But oftentimes it's your starting chord will be your home chord. So we're going to learn the shapes of G major, which are also the shapes of E minor. And we're going to start with the first pattern in G major, and it's this. Starting on the 3rd fret, 3, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 4, 3, 5, 3, 5. You can fret these in different ways. I use 1 finger per fret on these, typically. Depending, when you get up high on the neck, you may want to change. If you have really big hands, that might be awkward for you to use 1 finger per fret, but whatever feels comfortable, but you're going to have to practice these over and over and over again. So that's the first shape. The second shape connects with the first shape. You'll see how they connect. The third shape, third pattern. The 4th pattern. And the 5th pattern. This is probably the shape or the pattern that most people know. In fact, it's 100% the pattern that most people know. Okay, so those are the 5 pentatonic patterns, and that was in the key of G, which is also, every major key has a relative minor key. And in the key of G major, its relative minor is E minor. So if you think of this G major chord, it's going to make it sound majory. But if you're playing this E minor chord, it depends on what chord you're playing if it's going to sound major or minor. You need to understand that that would be the first pattern of the E minor pentatonic. They're the same 5 patterns, but you're just starting on a different note. So that's your low E string, that's you got your 1, your flat 3, your 4, your 5, your flat 7, and then you start over. Those are the 5 notes. With G major, if you're thinking of these patterns in the terms of major, you've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and you start over. Anyway, lots of jingles written with the pentatonics. Lots of great solos written with the pentatonics. those are the patterns. That's all you need to know as far as what they are. You just need to get them under your fingers and get some muscle memory.
You can do it!
That's everything. You're just going to have to practice these over and over and over and over. You want to practice them in context. I made a little jam track that's G, D, E minor, C. That's a 1, 5, 6, 4 in the key of G. It's super common. And you can use those exact shapes in those positions to practice soloing and hearing the way that these pentatonics sound over some chords. But you're going to have to practice these in every way you can think of. It's not going to sound musical and just go up and down the fretboard. It's not going to sound musical until you start experimenting with playing over chords and phrasing in a pleasing way. But you want to get the shapes under your fingers so your hands just know where to go without you having to think hard about it. Your hands just know, once you realize, oh, I'm in the key of G, you can go to these patterns. And then from there, virtually whatever you play with these pentatonics will sound good. But from there, you want to go further into playing the actual chord tones. So when you're about to land on a G chord, you want to land on one of the notes in that G chord, the 1, the 3, or the 5. When you go to the D chord, you want to land on one of those notes that's in the D, which is, the D is the 5 of G major, the 3rd of D is the 7 of G major, and the 5th of D is A, which is the 2 of G major. So on the free PDF that I've linked in the description, you can see the intervals, and I've put one for the E minor and one for the G major pentatonic shapes. You'll see that they're the exact same shapes, but it's just the intervals changed. And all you need to know is wherever your root is, that's going to be what feels like home. So if E minor is what's being played in the background by your rhythm guitarist, it's going to sound like, E minor. It's going to sound darker, more sad. If you're playing G major, going to sound majory and happier. But practice those patterns everywhere. So this G major, pattern 1, if I move it to here, that's A major. Okay, and the pattern still exists. So if we're in A major, this is still A major. Notice how I went. And I landed on the A because I told you it was A major. Now, if I went, all of a sudden it sounds like we're in F sharp minor. It just depends on what chord, what note is your root note. And that's going to be determined by the context of what you're playing. But those are the patterns. They're going to sound good. So if you're playing that F minor, you can play this and it's going to sound good. If you're playing that A major, or you can play that same and it's going to sound good. And so what you need to focus on is where you land depending on the next chord that's being played. That's how you play with the changes. You hear people say, play the changes. All you're doing is aiming for the chord notes, right? Everything is lining up together. You want your melody dancing with your harmony. And so when you transition to the next chord, ideally, your melody can be like in a movie, it's foreshadowing. In a movie, if somebody has a certain, I don't know what you can say on YouTube, but they have a weapon in Act 1, there's a saying that weapon ought to be utilized by the end of Act 2. That's because in a movie, everything is like foreshadowing. Everything has a point and a purpose. Same thing in our songs. So your melody can lead someone to the next chord. So if I'm playing G, and I go to a D, I might go. It sounded like I stopped here, but it was like I landed there. So I landed on a chord tone. Do you see what I'm saying? Those are your target notes. You target the next chord. You got your rhythm player going. But you just try to lead into the chord, and that's pretty much it. Practice these as much as you can. Oh, and one last thing. I encourage you to be dreaming about these things in your sleep. If you're just coming across these pentatonic patterns and you haven't practiced them before, a guy told me once, and I totally agree with him years later now, you need to be dreaming about these things. You need to think about picture them in your mind, these shapes, so frequently that you just can't stop thinking about them. You know, when your friend says, "Hey, what's up, bro?" You need to say, "Major pentatonic pattern 2. Oh, I mean, hey, what's up?" Like, you need to be thinking about this all the time till you can't get it off your mind. That's how you end up getting good at these. You're thinking about them, draw them on paper, right? Draw 6 lines and draw these patterns out on paper. It helps reinforce it. I promise you it does. That's what I did. I bet a lot of guitarists did that. And so draw them out on paper. Think of different ways to play it. You can do 5s. Anyway, I don't do 5s a lot, obviously, but it's just a way to get it under your fingers more. And then you can start practicing trying to solo with it. Anyway, I hope this is helpful for you. If it is, please like and subscribe so I'm not talking to myself anymore on YouTube. Have a great day.